All right, we are live. Hello, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Act like we haven't spoken for like ages or something. But the truth is, we've been chatting for 30 minutes now, so probably the fun part is over. but
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So I think this is quite a popular stream. There are like 30 subscribers on LinkedIn, and there is YouTube stream and Twitch, and we are also on Twitter. I think this is going to be about Dagger. So Mark is a friend of mine. He will introduce himself just in a little, and he is a very advanced Dagger user. Can I say that?
I guess so. I mean, I've been using Dagger from basically day one. I can't say if I'm advanced, like I'm probably making a lot of mistakes with Dagger all the
Mhm.
time, but let's just say I'm a very enthusiastic Dagger user.
Cool, because if there's one label you can use about me when it comes to CI is that I'm a CI skeptic, like in a sense that I've been a long time not inspired by anything CI. I'm just fixing CI scripts here and there. All the engines are the same. It's basically running a bash script remotely, and it's I don't know what an engine can add to the discussion. So I'm really keen on learning from you, Mark. So
So I
go
guess
on.
this is going to be an interesting conversation then because I'm quite the opposite. Like I'm
Okay.
all for I'm all for having a consistent framework for build systems and for building software that you can work within. uh, it's not the same as using a framework for your software. It's a little bit different, but I'm all for having a consistent and portable solution for your build and development environment. And I've spent a lot of time testing different solutions, different build systems, and I kind of hate writing my own shell scripts. So I I don't like that. So I'm quite the opposite from this perspective.
Cool. I'm picking up some Docker vibe here, like you're talking about a portable CI solution. Kind of reproducibility is also in question here.
Yeah, absolutely. Not not specifically Docker. If you are familiar with some of the generic build systems like Bazel, Please, and the likes, I'm rather talking about those. I have some experience with those. Uh, Docker works obviously, but it's not like a framework. It's just an isolation environment for you. I always looked for something more, and that's and Dagger is kind of the mix of those. Like Dagger is a build system, and it gives you the isolation. So if I had to like briefly describe what Dagger is, it's basically the right level of abstraction of a build system that gives you the isolation and the features of a generic build system.
All right. So I think I want to get my hands dirty early on. So I think I will soon share my screen and pull up a terminal, and then you tell me what to do.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe just to share some common history we both have. I think last time I was happy about CI, it was with Drone.io back in 2016 or something, when for the first time I spinned up with the Docker Compose file. It was up, like in half a second. It also had like a local run option, and the design was, like just containers wired together. Each CI step was a container, and I think every CI kind of followed this approach ever since. Just being on a hosted platform and shitty runners, so was just generally slow and not very well maintained ecosystem, or not really very well groomed ecosystem. You pull in this action, that action, and blah blah blah. So it's like a zoo out there. So I hate it ever since. So yeah, Drone.io. I don't know if you want to latch on that or.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that good of an experience with Drone.io. I mean, we've integrated Drone.io in a project at Bonsai Cloud, and we've kind of struggled with it. And I don't actually know if Drone.io came before GitLab CI. My first like great experience with CI was with GitLab CI because I really liked their descriptors and I really liked that you had the option to run those CIs locally as well. Like you could install a runner locally, and you could run those CI builds locally as well. It wasn't that easy. Like it wasn't like just running a single command, but it worked. And ever since GitLab CI, like the next huge thing for me was GitHub Actions, and that's like a couple of years ago. So from GitLab CI to GitHub Actions, basically those are the large milestones in CI for me that I could call like good experiences, and everything else not really.
All right. So
Like
interesting.
it's very polarized for me. CI,
Yeah.
like those two were great, the rest not really.
All right. Yeah, I think GitHub Actions is like a big disappointment for me. But let's
Really?
not go.
Okay.
I mean, the only good thing about it is that it works relatively okay, and it's part of GitHub, so it's the same interface, and that ends the list for me. But anyways, I'm gonna share my screen. We are 6 minutes in this, and I don't want to talk too much, and more like doing some demo stuff. So I don't have anything installed. Should I pull down something?
Yeah. So just very briefly about Dagger, the value proposition is that you can write your pipelines in any of the SDKs provided by Dagger. The low-level API is actually GraphQL, and if you think about it, a CI pipeline is actually a DAG. Like every single step depends on the previous step or the output of the previous step, and that's why GraphQL is actually a very great fit to describe these pipelines, because GraphQL is basically a DAG as well, or can be a DAG as well.
So that's why it's Dagger, because it's the directed acyclic graph. All righty.
Exactly.
I knew nothing about this. All right. So please keep talking. I'm gonna install this.
So the idea is that Dagger provides these high-level language SDKs that basically just call into the GraphQL API. And the nice thing about these SDKs is you can use, well, there are a couple like official SDKs that you can use, but you could generate code for any other languages that work with GraphQL as well. But so which language do you want to use? I have the most experience with Go.
We can certainly do Go. However, can't we do YAML, please?
No, that's no.
All right. So I'm gonna write.
I think there was a couple, like people already recommended to provide a YAML SDK, and the thing is, you could write your own YAML SDK, but it would still have to depend on like the features that you have in your pipeline. So you could absolutely build some sort of a YAML SDK, but it's just not like it wouldn't have that much added value compared to using the SDK, like the language SDKs.
I see. So
we can actually go through the quick start if you want to. Like, that's probably the easiest.
Just very quickly. Before we do that, let me just look at the stream for a little, because I just want to see everything is in order. People see us and hear us and everything, because that's.
I actually see a couple folks from the Dagger team, so
okay.
I have to be very careful what I say here.
I guess I don't have anything to lose here. It's only you that, that can lose some reputation. All right. Yeah, we have a bunch of people here. My friend Zoltan and other people. Alexander. Nice. Yeah. Hey, everyone.
Lav is actually from the Dagger team.
All right. Cool. So I think the stream is all right.
Okay.
And I can go back and should I do this Go mode init and so on?
Yep.
All right. All right. And then next step would be first Dagger pipeline. I'm just going to copy and paste everything from here, right?
So you can copy the code, but you can also run it. Like this is a playground environment. So if you want, you can just run the code. Oh,
No,
you may
I
have.
will.
Yeah,
I,
let's just copy it.
I will
Yeah.
copy it. So what's in here?
So one thing I have to mention that this is the current state of Dagger. There is actually some huge work happening in the background that will hugely improve the user experience. So this is the currently stable version. We can actually take a look at the new version if you want to, but let's start with this. So if you take a look at the code, the first thing you do is basically you connect to something called the Dagger engine. It's going to run in Docker for the moment. It's actually going to start the Docker container. So you should have Docker running if you don't.
I think I do.
Okay. And then it's going to start something called the Dagger session. And within that, you can start basically running these pipelines. And since this is running in Docker, you will have to run everything in containers. So that's why you start with the client.container. The API is actually very similar to a Dockerify, so that's why you see things like from and a bunch of other stuff in there. And the with exec part, like that style of the API, is supposed to represent or tell you that this is actually like a DAG. Because if you think about it, you are adding stuff to the container. So and then in the end, you can either get the output of that container run, you can get the standard error, you can get files that you've created within that container. So there's a bunch of stuff that you can get from that container. So let's just start it.
Let's run it, but do I have to compile it or something, or there was this
no?
Dagger?
So you can do Dagger run, go run main.go. That should work.
But it was unknown command for Dagger. Sorry.
So I think you can just run. You can just do go run main as well.
Dagger run go run. That feels odd, but all right.
Yeah, that's
so
strange.
Should I do go what? Sorry.
Do you actually have the Dagger command? But like,
yes.
But Dagger do maybe.
Dagger do, and then
go run main.go.
Wow. Nope.
Okay, let's just do the go run main.go. This what? Can you check the version? Is there a Dagger version or something? I can't actually see the version.
Really? So it's
I can see from the pinned comment on the screen. So I don't see the bottom of the window.
Really?
Oh yeah, this is a very old version. Where did you download it from?
Install Dagger CLI.
Okay.
And it's Dagger's 062, and this.
Yeah, this is a very old version. Where did you move it to?
Maybe it was something old that I installed a long time ago. Should I run this?
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't think. Oh, it's in here. All right. So this is not part of my. Yeah. All right. Better.
So there is your Dagger run command. Yeah. Dagger run go run main.go.
Yeah. Sorry, it was user problem. Write your first Dagger pipeline. I was just testing you whether you can handle these oddballs. Not .bin.
So the CI, the CI part is.
Yep.
It's not gonna work. So it's go around main.go, not CI/.
All right. Trying to break it with Control-C, but it doesn't react.
Can you unpin the comment from the stream, because we can't see the bottom of the window?
All right. just in a. What do you see it now?
Yeah.
And I try to exit from here, but
Uh-oh.
my Control C doesn't work here, so that's probably some feedback to Dagger or for my.
Yeah, just try to kill it with.
Kill all Dagger. Can I do that? Yes. So one more time. I just run main.go, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now it's happening. Yeah.
I have to level up my terminal animation game. This is
So it's downloading the Golang image now.
okay.
And after that, it's just gonna execute the command that you had there. And the nice thing is it's actually going to cache the result of those commands. So it's actually pretty fast for the second time.
Mm-hmm. So my question is that inside here, I am doing an echo hello, and I'm getting the standard out from this reference. So basically anything that's on standard out is going to be okay inside the Go variable, and then I can print. I'm just going to call
That's
it
right.
greeting. All right. And where is the print line? Hello, Dagger from hello from Dagger and hello.
Yeah, so if you actually remove the Dagger run part, it should work as well. But since you are prefixing the command with Dagger run, it actually captures the output, so it may reformat stuff. But if you just run go run main.go, it should work as well.
Oh, okay.
So try it as well.
Actually, I've seen. Should I do go build or something?
No, go run main.go.
Go run main.go. Okay. I've seen a similar design recently that I could run a data pipeline locally, just as a regular Python app, and it could also run remotely. So that's interesting. Okay. What's next?
Yeah, let's what do you want to do? We can build a more complex pipeline if you want to.
Well, maybe just in theory. So if I want to do like a Go build or a Docker build or a test, I would write more of these.
Yeah. So well, it depends what you want to do, but basically what you can do is actually create a couple different containers and chain them together. Like if you wanted to, for example, build a binary, you could have you could have a separate container for building the binary, and then you could have another container where you run that binary and do some tests, for example. And Dagger is clever enough to resolve the dependencies between these runs and containers. And for example, you could copy the file from the result of one container to another one, or mount a file. You can mount directories. So if you wanted to run Go test, for example, you could mount a directory from the host to the container and run tests within that.
Okay.
Or and the third, like a common example, and this may be a better example actually to demonstrate the power of Dagger. Like you often want to run integration tests where you need third-party services like a database. You can run a database in a container and well, not mount it. I don't know what the right word is, but basically access it from from a test container. So you could run tests against a MySQL database, for example. And Dagger would take care of the networking and running the container.
So I would be able to connect to it on a host name like in Docker Compose if I start a service of some sort. Okay, gotcha. All right, I feel that I want to build something basic. Like I created a folder here called My App. We're gonna create there a basic Go application, and I want to run Go test and make and maybe even a Docker image. So we
Okay.
see a 3-step something.
Mm-hmm.
But then later on, I think I think we should show something more advanced of Dagger.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned to me in our pre-chat is that maybe we could take an open source project or something that uses Dagger and see how this works larger scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do have a couple of those, so we can take a look at an existing example, and maybe we can also like briefly take a look at um, the new kind of API that Dagger is building right now. But let's go with the simple example
Simple
first,
first.
and then we
Simple
can
first.
yeah.
Okay. So simple Go app.
Well, how about just a hello world?
Yeah, I know, but there is this Go by example website that's
Okay.
probably the Hello World. Yes, it's faster to copy.
Well, don't tell me you couldn't have. All right.
Maybe not on a stream, like from the top of my head.
Up to
All
you.
right. All right. So we have something already. So this one prints a hello world, and if I run a test on this one, there won't be any output. But if I go my app, should I do go mod init?
Well, you already have a mod in the parent directory, so it's fine.
Really?
Yeah, you did that for Dagger.
I know I have it, but wouldn't that be a problem if I reuse inside a folder and?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
So one thing that you could do actually, I think that probably makes sense though, and this is like a common pattern with Go and Dagger, is that you have a CI folder, and that's where you have the CI related code,
Okay.
and make that a separate module.
So
Like you could create a CI folder and make that a separate module.
So I should actually flip everything. So
Yeah.
inside CI, I should pull in the Dagger thing.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
binary.
that's the
You don't need
binary,
that.
exactly. Yeah, I see that
You
now.
need the main.go.
Yes, main.go inside CI. Okay. My main.go outside. And my app folder not needed. And now it makes sense. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that I should have a module inside CI.
Yeah. So the problem, especially if you are developing a library with Go, this is rather a Go problem, not a Dagger problem.
Okay.
But if you are developing a library and you want to use Dagger, you have to add the Dagger SDK to your Go mod file, which means that whoever pulls in your library, they will have the Dagger SDK and a bunch of other dependencies completely unnecessary for the project. So that's why, well, I use this pattern, probably a bunch of other people as well, but that's why I usually create a separate module in a CI subdirectory so that those dependencies are constrained to the Dagger pipelines, and then my code, like the library and the primary module, doesn't have Dagger as the dependency. So one thing you can do is just move those two files to the CI and then create another module in the parent.
Oh. Even though the name says delete me, I have all the previous stream examples here. So this is a very precious folder of mine. Go mod init, my app. Would this work?
All right.
Go mod tidy. Is it done? Yes.
Yep.
All right. And inside CI, it's now red because it's now CI package maybe.
No, it should be main because you still want to run it.
Okay.
Like maybe the Go mod name doesn't match the directory. I don't know.
Most likely.
Well, try running it. You will see.
All right. So if I go to CI and I do go run main go, this one is done.
Yeah, it works. It's just go. The language server is acting out.
Quick fix. Go get.
Now it added to now. I see. So it probably can't handle the submodule
Yes.
well. Like if you,
Yeah,
doesn't
I will not.
matter. First we
Exactly.
go.
All right. So I have an app and I have a CI.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do. If I run. If I run go test here, it has no test
You
files.
don't have any tests, so it's not gonna do anything with.
It will run and print the same
Yeah.
result.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do this,
Mm-hmm.
and I can create a Docker file, like go build. It has a my app binary. So if I run this my app hello world,
Mm-hmm.
I can have a Docker file from, I don't know, from Debian. Copy.
Well, Alpine at least.
Alpine. All right, but then you have to help me. Then copy my app to my app, cmd my app. This will most likely fail, but
Well, you should probably copy to user bin or something.
all right. My app not found. Yeah, so
Yeah, copy to user bin or.
all right. We have a Docker file, and
Now,
we have
just one thing. So this will, if you want to build this Docker file, this will probably fail in Dagger because
Okay.
you basically have a dependency on the host system, other than the code itself. So we should probably do it a little bit differently with Dagger, but just for the demonstration, I think this is fine. And this is probably actually a bit better because we can actually skip the whole Docker file thing with Dagger. So that's
okay.
probably a bit better. Now, let's move on to the build part then.
All right.
So the first thing you want to do is probably test, right? So you want
Correct.
to run the test. So obviously, like think about this as running anything in any other container. Like if you want to run the test in a Docker container, you would have to mount some of the files into the container. So you want to do that here as well. And the way you can do that is by accessing the host. So there is a separate abstraction for accessing the host. And you can access that by calling client.host. So if you call client.host, and then, for example, if you want to mount a whole directory, you can then run directory, and then you can give a path to that function. Now, the trick here is that since you will be running this from the CI directory, you probably want one directory up, like.
All right.
And then you want to save the result of that into a variable because that's.
Yeah, of course. So that's a host path or.
Well, source. Let's call it source or something like that.
Okay.
Probably a better name. And then in the container, like you need a test container. So that second one can be a test container. And then you need to mount the directory in the container. So it's going to be vid directory or vid mounted directory, I believe. Vid mounted.
All right.
Yeah. And you will give it a path first. No, first it's going to be a path. Okay. Like something like /source, whatever. And then the directory itself. You probably want to set the workspace as well to be the source directory. So that's going to be with workspace, with workdir, sorry, with workdir.
Okay. And that's just the same
source.
path.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you want to run the actual test. So it's going to be another read exec block, same as below.
Can I write strings like humans do? Like every time I see this in Kubernetes YAML or wherever, that I have to provide an array of string instead of go test, I go crazy. So can I do
Well, you
something
could
like
write
this?
something like strings.split or something like that if you wanted to do that.
Yes, I want to do that. Strings the
So
split.
that's the power of writing code here. You can do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
I can call it power. All right, so I split it. Good. So should I do test dot something to run it actually,
And
or?
then so if you just leave it like this, Dagger is going to execute, like run the container, but you won't get any results. Like you're not getting the standard output, you're not getting any files from the
Okay.
container. So what you
Okay.
probably want to do there is similarly to the example below, you want to get the standard output.
Okay. Or maybe just the exit code.
I think you can do that as well. Like there is
Uh-huh.
a exit or
Uh-huh. Because with standard out, I would have to do a string match or something. But I will just continue as I'm
so the
told.
other thing you can do, I believe it's maybe the exit code has been removed, and I think now it's called sync, something like that. Just remove the standard out part. You don't need that if you don't want. But you probably want to print the output though, so it probably makes sense to grab the output. But there is a sync that basically does the same thing.
And
you need
so
to pass the context to it.
yeah. So this basically just runs the step, and I don't have any of the output. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can actually have like multiple of these, right? So I could take standard out. And here.
Well, if you want to take the standard output, you don't need sync. So.
Okay. All right, and I will print it, I guess. All right. Yeah, error handling, panic. So if I run this, can I just try run it, or maybe we build the pipeline forward?
Yeah, let's just run it.
Yeah, because we haven't tried the new structure. So it was. Should I do Dagger run or go run? Go run.
Dagger run formats the logs, so it's probably nicer if you do Dagger run.
Dagger run CI
Go
slash.
run. No. Go run CI. Yeah.
Main go. Because it's again, this is not the Dagger I want. This is not the Dagger you want.
Yeah, so if you run it here, you probably don't need the parent directory. You need the same one.
Okay, but on a CI, you would clone into a known folder and so on, right?
So this is just about the work here where you run the command. This is running on the host, so this is a host relative directory. Let's see. Yeah, I think the split command or the function, yeah, it's in the reverse order. Like first you need the string and then the
classic. So
I always make that mistake as well.
I'm always looking at the separator is second. You are correct.
Yes.
All right. If I run it again.
But the nice thing about it, and this is actually one of the power or one of the great features of Dagger, is that it caches most of those steps. So whenever you run the whole thing again, you get most of those from the cache.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
So where is the output of Go test? Do you see that? I don't.
I did see it previously. It was
Or maybe because of
showing.
the cache, it doesn't output it. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, it's there. Okay, it's there. Cool.
And then also the hello
All
from
right.
Dagger was also missed,
Mm-hmm.
or like missing if you are using the cached. All right.
Okay.
And I see the DAG here. It's a bit
Yeah.
too many things going on for for my taste, but I see what
I
how
think you
this
can
can.
actually turn that off or change the output. Like the Dagger run has a couple of different options, and I think you can actually change the output if you don't like this.
Like the human option. Dagger run. Focus.
Yeah, there's a silent option.
Silent.
The focus part is, so the focus is an interesting feature. You can actually like highlight certain steps, because if you have a complex pipeline, you have a lot of different steps, you pull in a lot of containers. So this is a relatively simple pipeline, and you already have a bunch of different steps here. The focus one can actually highlight the more important steps, and I guess the focus option means that you can just get the output of those. I haven't actually tried that before. Like I know about the focus option, but haven't tried it.
All right, I have a fan base here. People like the human part. All right. Oh, and Solomon is also here. Hello, thanks for joining the stream. This is cool. I'm now double nervous.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. So what's next? What's next here? We're gonna do.
So I guess the next step is actually building the binary.
Let's do that.
So one thing to keep in mind here is if you want to run that binary on your machine, like,
yep.
Right. Let's do the build first, and then we'll talk about that.
All right. So basically, I just copied the test part.
Basically, you want the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm gonna do build from Golang, and then build output from build, and I'm gonna do go build, and I'm gonna print build output. Okie dokie.
You want to change the exec part as well?
Yes.
The actual
go build.
part.
Okay.
Let's save the binary somewhere as well.
Okay.
Like
how to do that?
Like go build that -o and save it somewhere.
Oh yeah, of course. So go build -o and then my app. I guess that's the default as well.
Yeah.
All right, and then how will Dagger pick this up?
So since, like, what do you mean pick this up? Like, what do you want to do with it? There are a couple of things that you could do here.
Okay.
Like one, run the binary after you build it. Like you could absolutely do that, and you could just basically chain a second with exec with the build one, and then it would just run the binary. The other thing you could do is copy the binary from the container to your host and run it. And the way you can do that is, once again, from the build container, you could do something like output or copy file or something. The language server will help us out here, but I think it's called output or output file or just file, or maybe it's just file. And then you can call output on that or something like that.
But maybe it's a more real.
Look it up because
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
maybe
go
it's
ahead,
more. Maybe it's more of a real world scenario if we gonna build a Docker image out of this. So we might not need the binary. So maybe let's push forward.
Well, you're actually going to need the binary regardless of that. So as I mentioned, we could do the Docker file, like the Docker. You could use the Docker file to build a container, but you could also just use Dagger to build a container.
Let's use Dagger.
Okay. So let's just grab the file and you need to give it a path, like it's going to be /source/myapp, I believe. Because we are in the source directory.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I think it just outputs a single parameter. Yeah, that's right.
And I don't want to print a binary, so tell me what to do with it.
No output there. So the next thing you want to do is actually start building a container similarly to the previous ones. So you want to create a new container with client
Like this?
container.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is our artifact.
Yeah.
From
obviously you don't want to use Golang. You want to use something like Alpine.
Okay.
And then you want to basically copy the file into that container. I think the function you want to use is with mounted file or with file or some of that. With file. With file. Similarly to the other ones, you give it a path and your binary.
Okay, so the path is this. Or no, so this is the path where it will be.
This is the path within the container, like, in the new image.
In the new
like where
image.
you want to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, then it's user bin.
Yeah.
Okay. And this one is the binary?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then basically at this point you have a container with the binary and you want to publish it. So you want to call, I think it's called publish. You want to call publish on that.
Yep.
Either publish or export or something like that.
Publish. Context, address. Can I just
the address is going to be the registry. I think you can call export as well. Try export. Export, and it's gonna export to a file if that's what you want to do. The other thing you can do is call publish, and I think it's gonna I actually don't know how you can export it to your local Docker instance. I don't know how that works. Anyone from the stream? Marcos, do you know how we can export the image into Docker and then run it locally? Let me look that up from the.
In the meantime, I'm also fine with the tarball and just.
Okay, yeah, that works as well.
Play with it, and this is annoying because every CI step I make, Go forces me to do something with it. And
you can ignore that if you want to. So Dagger, so I mentioned the Dagger session before. When the session ends, I believe Dagger will actually evaluate all of those containers. So it will basically execute all of that. And the export will actually force the synchronization. I don't actually know what the output of that export is.
Yeah, I just ignore it for now, and this will export the file, if I'm right. So let me just run it and fail spectacularly. Okay. Okay.
There is your image. Cool.
Is it load? It's Docker load or request? Yeah, so maybe it's a cat my image tar into Docker load, or it's been a while.
Isn't there a Docker image load?
Maybe.
Yeah, there is the input flag.
Docker image load. It's the same.
E. No, -E and then the file.
E or?
Sorry, I. Sorry, I.
Like this?
Yeah.
All right. And is it my image? Docker run. Maybe like this? No.
I think it doesn't have a name. You have to run the
hash.
Yeah.
This. Okay. I almost accidentally ran somebody's. I I don't know, hack image. Luckily, it was access denied. All right. It looks good, right? No. There was no comment.
Yeah.
We didn't
What's
specify
wrong?
anything. I want to see our.
Oh yeah, you probably don't have like there's no CMD in the image. Like it's probably
Exactly.
running. Yeah.
So
you need to add the vid exec.
vid exec.
Called vid exec or no, I think it's vid exec. Yeah. Let's try that.
If this works, it feels a bit odd, but let me voice my surprise later.
It's a list.
Yo, again.
It's probably obvious by now that this is not really how I use daggers. That's why I'm a little bit confused.
We are soon going to get into some more exciting territory, but I think it's good to just see it the first time like this. I'm also not sold yet, so I want to see your use cases. This is a lot of work for.
Okay, it's probably not with exec. Maybe with entry point. I don't know.
Okay, this is the last thing we try, and then maybe we rely on the viewers with entry point. With entry point, or with command, maybe? No. With
It's
entry
gonna be entry point. Yeah.
Yeah, the same. So, and then. All right, let's run it again. Load and then run. Ta-da! Nice. And just one final thing, I was surprised that if the vid exec would have worked, I would have been surprised, but the vid entry point kind of makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So this interface here is, we are basically building Docker containers, the same as here. And
so most people, for most people, building a Docker image is actually just writing a Docker file. But in reality, there are several different ways to create a container image. Like it's basically just a layered file system. So you can create container images by hand if you want to. So, yeah.
All right. And the last step, the difference was that we exported this and we didn't run it per se. Okay.
So there is a publish step as well. So if it was a real CI/CD pipeline, you would probably want to publish it to a remote registry. So you could publish it as well. And you could even make that like optional. Like if you are running it locally, you probably don't want to publish the image to the production registry. You want to run it locally. So that's why it's nice that you can write this in code, because you can actually account for those use cases as well. And do whatever you want, basically.
All right. I just pulled my terminal from the screen. So we have built something very basic. And now I want to see your world. Like, why do you like it? Because I suspect there are more to this, because this example was a little bit of work involved. So let's see what you have.
All right. How do I, share screen. Yeah, I don't have two monitors. I have one. Oh, let's see if it works.
Okay.
Do you see my screen?
I think I do, yes.
Okay. So this is actually a new app, new Mac, and I've shared my screen for the first time, so I was a bit worried that I would have to uh,
Oh yes, new
quit
Mac,
from the browser. Yeah,
new
yeah,
job.
yeah,
Nice. You are having fun?
yeah. Absolutely. This is my first day,
Oh, great.
so it's all right. So this is a very simple project. I have another one that's a little bit more complex. We can take a look at that as well. I just wanted to show you like the different kinds of projects that you can use Dagger for. This is
Mhm.
actually a library. So it already makes sense to put all those CI files into a separate module because you don't want to have
Yeah.
Dagger as a dependency in the library. And I'm actually using a tool called Mage.
Mhm.
It's I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mage. If you're not, Mage is basically a makefile written in Go.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to put it. Like you can write these targets. By the way, is the font size large enough?
It's good for me. Yeah, you can make it just one
Let's see.
one. You cannot. Yeah, just yeah. This is already fine. Yeah.
So Mage is basically make for Go. Like you can
Mhm.
write these targets in Go, and it works very similarly. Now, in this case, I basically have a simple test target, and I have like the test is actually an integration test against a service called Kerbos. Kerbos is an
Mhm.
authorization service.
Mhm.
Doesn't really matter. The interesting thing is, thank you, Neoim, for not working. So I have a test here that basically has a dependency on this service. Now, if I don't have that service running, or I don't tell the test where it is running, it's basically not going to do anything. So if I just go run go test here,
Uh-huh.
it's not going to do anything, or it's going to skip the execution.
Uh-huh.
Let's do -v so you can see that
Yep.
it's actually skipping the test run. Now, if you want to run these tests with something like Docker Compose, you can absolutely do that. So I do have a Docker Compose file here, and if I let's see if this works. I've actually just built this project, so I have no idea if all this is going to work at all or not. So I could do something like, and this is like I'm exposing the port here, so I could do something like Kerbos address.
Mhm.
What's the port number? Okay.
Mhm.
And then it works.
Yep.
But in order to do that, you have to know that you have to start the Docker Compose setup, and then
Yep.
you have to pass the address here. Now, I probably have something like a make file in here. Yeah, just file, which does that for me. So if I do, what's that? Just test. Just is a fancy new make. Just ignore
Mhm.
that. So if I run just test, it's gonna work. But let's wait for that. Yeah, the register detector is enabled. Let's say I don't know that I have to start this service. I have no idea I have to start it, but I do have the address configured here. So if I run just test here, it's gonna fail, or it should. I mean, let's make sure it fails. It's gonna fail, and you have no idea why. Like you have to go into the README,
Mhm.
and
Figure
like the
out the
lazy
Docker
person I
Compose and
am,
yeah.
oh, I actually have instructions in there. So
Yep. Mhm.
I'm not the lazy one. In this case, the user is the lazy one because they didn't read the
Yep.
README. But you still need Docker Compose locally, so you still have to get yourself familiar with the project.
Mhm.
Now, what you could do instead is obviously you can't run the test with zero knowledge. You need something. But let's just say I
Mhm.
have a make file, and you just run make test. Obviously, it doesn't work now. But if I replace Where is the just file? So let's see, can I comment this? Does it work like this? I don't know. So Dagger run, what's that, mage CI test. So let's say this just is now my make. So if I run this, you run make test and it just magically works. I kind of hope this is going to work because I have no idea if, yeah, it's going to work. So if you are lazy enough and you don't read the README at all, but you see a make file and run make test, this is just going to work like magic.
And
obviously kind of cheating here because I do have Dagger and Mage installed here. So that's kind of cheating. But let's say you are not that lazy that you just want to run make test and you are willing to install these two dependencies. You actually just need, you actually don't need any of these. Like I could just run CI. I think this works. No, let's see. I think this should work as well. All right, so it doesn't work. But if I go into this directory, maybe it would work. It wouldn't work because I would have to like change the parent directory. So I would have to basically mount everything from, where is that host thing? I would have to mount everything from one directory up. But I don't actually need any dependencies to run this code. That's my point. If I have Dagger and Mage locally, it's a little bit nicer, but I don't actually need those. So I could write a make file that doesn't require any dependencies other than Go. And that's the same for other languages. Like you could just run an npm or what's it called, Node.js script or TypeScript, something, I don't know.
And it's because your CI is in the same language as your application.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same language. It's the same package manager. So you don't actually need any external dependencies. Obviously, it's a bit nicer if you have these installed, but you don't need those. And even if you ask users to install those dependencies, like even if I use Dagger and Mage in this case, those are the only two dependencies that you need. Now, a project may have a Golang CI lint step where you want to run the linter. If you don't have the whole thing encapsulated in a Dagger pipeline, then you would have to install Golang CI lint and all the other tools that you need to run the project. So this is a very simple library, and it doesn't have too many dependencies, but it does have, like, I do have Golang CI lint here. I do have Scopy over here because it's about container images and container registries. So you would have a bunch of these dependencies. And I'm cheating because I have Nix here. So I have those installed. But if you don't use Nix or you don't want to use Nix, then you have to install all of these dependencies manually. Whereas with Dagger, you either don't have to install any of those or just install the Dagger binary or maybe Mage.
So basically in your Dagger code, you have kind of like a Docker Compose file with each container with the right dependency.
Yeah.
And instead of reading the README file, please run Docker Compose up, pull in all those images. Instead of that, you can go run ci.go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other nice thing is, like, how many times did you have a problem? Like, for example, when you wanted to contribute to a random repository, you just wanted to fix something quickly, and you made the change, you ran the tests, they passed locally, and then you sent a PR, and the CI pipeline failed, and you just wanted to run the same stuff locally as the CI. Right. And obviously, you can have your shiny shell scripts to do that, but it's much better if you have something like Dagger where you run exactly the same stuff as you would run in a CI, because it's completely encapsulated and it doesn't depend on the CI environment or the dependency on the CI environment is minimal. It's basically just Docker.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you run this locally, you know it's going to run the same stuff
The same thing,
in
yeah.
the CI. Yeah. So if you take a look at the pipeline itself, it's just a little bit more complex. I actually do have some context magic here, and the reason for that is if you go to Dagger.cloud.
Oh yeah, that's their new thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of awesome, but I'm really looking forward to the analytics when you get to learn how your builds are performing. So let's take a look at this one. Yeah, this is fine. So the client pipeline magic that you can see here is actually important for the UI reasons.
The
This is
UI,
how
yeah.
you can group these
Group
steps
things, yeah.
together. It's kind of cool. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
No. I was just repeating the same things that you were saying, grouping stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So that's why I have this context magic. This is actually kind of new, where I just came up with this. So basically, when you call pipeline, it's going to wrap the client, and it's going to return a new client. Now you can obviously do something like save each client in a separate variable. In this case, we can use Go's shadowing feature with the context, which means within this context, the client is going to be this prepare pipeline client, but outside of this context. So when you exit this context, it's going to go back to the original one. And this way, like the code, I think it's much more readable if you like read the code in a linear way. You can see that I'm within the prepare pipeline, and then within this context, now I'm within another. And if you go to the UI, you can see how that looks like visually.
And you achieve that with
cool.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this is a Go language feature, I guess. Other
but it's used in a surprising way, or at least this is not something I often use. So this is this looks a little bit odd at first, but kind of makes sense. So if you're used to the look of it, I guess that's good structure.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you submit this to the remote CI engine, or what's the difference between local and remote runs?
So basically, when you do something like Dagger run, or even when you when you run when you have Dagger connect here, what it's going to do is it's going to look for a Dagger engine address. I think it's an environment variable that you can feed into Dagger. And if there is a remote address provided, it's going to connect to that existing remote Dagger engine. And if there is none, it's going to launch a local instance and talk to that. Yeah. And the Dagger cloud thing, like that's an addition. Like if you take a look at the, let's see, I don't know why it's doing that. So basically, you can see, where is it? Here. That it's running the Dagger engine container locally. And then at the end of the pipeline, we are waiting for that Dagger engine to stop so that it can report all of the steps and all of the events, or I don't know what it's doing to Dagger Cloud.
All right, so you use GitHub Actions as a wrapper, and then you trigger Dagger stuff. And I suppose at some point there is going to be native Dagger CI where you can run stuff.
I don't know. Like right now, the cloud itself, it doesn't like right now it's bring your own host, or I'm not sure how they're calling it, but right now it's you are running your hosts, and those are like those local engines are reporting
to the central place. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I would want to have my own hardware, it would work the same way as on GitHub Actions and so on. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
And do you write just one large Go file, or there are patterns emerged, like how do I do these things, or everyone just coming up with their own little functions to repeat these steps?
So, yeah, I already mentioned that there is a project called Zenith that they are working on, the Dagger team is working on, and it's basically bringing these reusable modules to
Okay.
Dagger. Right now, you can absolutely reuse code if you want to, like it's just
Whatever
Go
ways,
code
yes.
or
Yeah, exactly.
whatever
Yep.
you use, you can reuse code. The problem is that you can't reuse those modules across languages. So let's say you have something written in TypeScript and you want to use that in Go, you have to rewrite that in Go in order to use that in Go. So they are bringing this reusable module concept to Dagger, which I'm a huge fan of, actually. So it's going to be great. But you can absolutely write your own modules. Like if there is a pattern emerging that you see, you can absolutely extract that code and reuse it however you see fit. I guess there are like after a certain size or complexity, you definitely want to extract and reuse some of these steps. Like if you take a look at here, like the primary pipeline, the test pipeline itself, is just calling out to, for example, this test container function. I have a function called test container, which just builds the container running the test. I have another one for building the Kerbos container, which is going to be the running Kerbos service. And then I'm just calling these functions from the build pipeline itself. So I'm building the test container here, and then with this with service binding, I'm telling the test container that
to run,
there is going
like,
to be a container here that you can talk to.
Okay.
And then at the end, it's basically just running the test.
All right. Just one final question or something. I heard that maybe it's built on BuildKit and stuff, and caching is very good and things like that. Can you talk about that?
I think technically you could use any like OCI based runtime. If you use like that Docker, I think if I run like, let's see, where is my Docker dashboard? So I have a Dagger engine. I don't see a separate BuildKit instance running. I guess it's running within the Dagger engine. I have no idea, but by default, it uses BuildKit. But technically, you could use any kind of OCI runtime.
Okay.
I don't know if it's easy to achieve, but technically, it should work with any kind of OCI runtime.
And the caching part for each container, you have to sort of specify explicitly what you want to cache, right? Or
no, like it's
like,
working similarly to a Docker file.
To Docker,
basically.
okay,
Everything, every single step is cached. Obviously, if a file changes, for example, and you mount a changed context, then the rest of the cache will be invalidated.
All right. Now I'm just trying to draw parallels with other CI engines, but there basically every step is executed like every time. Otherwise, you are explicitly saying otherwise. And here, because you are building container images, you are sort of relying on the container image build cache. Okay. That's interesting. All right.
Well, obviously that's not always what you want. I have no idea if there is actually a command that you can, I don't know, without cache or something. But obviously, if you change an environment variable, for example, or change any kind of parameter, it's going to invalidate the cache. So you can absolutely do that.
I see. Okay.
So we can actually take a look at another project.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Does a little bit more building and stuff. Now again, I'm just checking this project out, so I have no idea if this is going to work here or not. Let's see. Do I have anything in progress here?
In the meantime, Imre is saying that there's a command that you can force no cache on each step.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and there's cache volumes to pass.
Yeah.
things
So the
along.
cache volumes are useful for, well, for actual cache. Like for example, if you're building a Go project, you have the
Mhm.
Go module cache and the Go
And then you can.
build
Yep.
cache. You
Mhm.
can mount those similarly to how you would mount those in a Docker file as
Mhm.
cache directories.
It would make sense if your first step pulled down the Go modules, and then a step later on would need it,
Hmm.
right? So it's
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
in repeated executions, because that would be taken care of by Docker, but instead between different steps of your pipeline.
I mean, well, it doesn't really matter because it would always mount back the same cache, and even
Mhm.
like that cache wouldn't be invalidated. Like it's like the cache type mount that you can do in a Docker file. That cache wouldn't be invalidated. It would just mount back the
Mhm.
Go module cache, for example. So
Mhm.
even if the like the step cache is invalidated, it would still mount back the same stuff. So
Mhm.
you would still have so it doesn't really matter how you whether you download those dependencies first or not. Let's
Mhm.
see. Uh, let's see. I do have a mage file here as well, I believe. Yeah. So this is a little bit more complex pipeline. Uh, I do have an application built here. So this is actually a service. This is not a library anymore. So I do have an application built here. I think
Mhm.
this one may be old. I do have another one somewhere. But I do have a prepare phase here as well. I'm running a couple of service containers.
Okay.
And then I have a build where I actually build the application container. Like this is extracted to a separate function, but this is just a Docker build. So I do have a
Mhm.
Docker file here somewhere. Uh, yeah, so I do have a
Mhm.
Docker file here, and this is just building or just runs the Docker file, and then in order to run some end-to-end tests,
Mhm.
I'm actually going to run this same app container. Like I'm building the container, I'm doing some service binding, mounting a couple files for the
Uh-huh.
tests. And then I'm running this application as a service. Like I'm running the application itself, and then the Kerbal service, and then a registry as well.
Mhm.
So I'm running that application, and I'm mounting that application as a service in my test container.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm running a couple tests against that application.
Okay.
So this is a little bit more complex pipeline, but the
Mhm.
basic idea is the same. I build a bunch of containers. In this case, I'm building the application itself as well. I'm mounting the application to the test container, and then I'm
Mhm.
running a bunch of those tests. Now let's see if this actually works. Um, is it Mage? I guess it's gonna be the same. Now, there's a chance that this is gonna fail, but hopefully not. So you can see it's building the actual container, and
Mhm.
maybe you can also see that it's actually like these service blocks. It's actually running services. You can see the logs of those
Oh, I
services. This is
see.
the Docker
Okay.
registry. This is
Uh-huh.
the Kerbal service. Somewhere it's the application,
Uh-huh.
and now it's running the tests. So this is the test output. You can see here.
Uh-huh.
This was the test output, and it's basically it ran. So
Yeah.
it basically built the container, it built the application, and then ran a bunch of tests, end-to-end
Yep.
tests against that application. So
Okay.
it did work after all. Cool.
Cool.
And I do have, I think there is let's see, there's a Zenith branch. I have no idea if this works. Probably not. Let's see. No, I haven't finished this yet.
Mhm.
But there is a cool new project, as I mentioned a couple times already, called Zenith, where you can
Mhm.
basically reuse these modules. So if you take a look at the code here, there's a test container.
Mhm.
Hmm. flipping language server. Where is the test container? Do you see it? There it is. So basically, this is a very simple container, installs a bunch of stuff. They basically use a tool called Bats. It's a Bash-based test framework. Not sure if you're familiar with it.
Yep.
But most of this code could be reused. Like I could reuse the container. I could reuse some of these. I could reuse all the mounts. And I could basically move all this to a reusable module. So if I wanted to run Bats-based tests somewhere else, I could do that. And using this new, do I have it on GitHub? I think it. Oh yeah, Daggerverse. So you could basically write this code in a reusable module like this. Can I zoom in? How do I zoom in?
Yeah, but does this require any library, or what's the Zenith part in this? Because this looks like just Go.
Yeah, so the tricky part here is you can actually use this in the GraphQL API. So this is actually an extension to the GraphQL API. And then you can use the Dagger tool to generate code based on this into any other languages. I think currently only the Go SDK is supported, so I'm kind of exaggerating right now. But the idea is that you can generate code and use this module written in Go across all of the other supported languages.
I see.
So basically, this code goes into the GraphQL schema, and from the GraphQL schema, you can generate code for all of the supported languages. And I have no idea if I can demo this right now, but basically the idea is that you can have a container that you want to reuse. You can have your own arguments if you want to. And then from the GraphQL schema or from the generated code, you can call, for example, in this case, I do have a directory extension, which means I could call this bats function on a directory. So in this case, let's see, do I have a directory here somewhere? Yeah. So I could just select the directory where I want to run this, and then I could do bats.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then a couple
the parameters. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice and composable.
Yeah. And again, you can use this across languages. So you can write a module in one language and then use it across all of the languages. Yeah.
All right.
So that's the idea.
So I think I start to understand, the basic building blocks. I still don't see the whole vision for the project. So maybe that I need a few more days or just encounters. So
just to summarize, to me, the value is the portability. So you basically need a single dependency, which is your language framework. And you can write all of those pipelines within the code, and you don't need any other dependencies or understand any of the tooling. So we haven't looked at like the different linters that you could use for your project. We haven't looked at all of the different build systems or build tools that you would need to build a much more complex project. So you can encapsulate all of those into this Dagger pipeline, and you could run the same pipeline. Like I think this is the big idea. Like Dagger is Dagger is the right abstraction for the whole thing, and it abstracts away the CI so that you can run it anywhere. And it's going to run the same way in CI. And that's kind of the value proposition of the build systems as well, but it's not really true. Like those are not, they are mostly reproducible, but they are not encapsulated in containers. So the isolation and the reproducibility is much less in that case. So this is the big idea, that you can write those pipelines with minimal dependencies and then run them anywhere, basically. The other thing is that you can write those in your language. So you like YAML, but I know much more people who just hate YAML, and they would probably be much more inclined to debug and write pipeline code if it was written in the language that they like. And since you can just run it locally, like you don't have to commit the code, push it, wait for
Mhm.
CI to pick it up, run it again, and go through the whole.
That's huge. Yes, yes,
Yeah, so
yeah,
so they can do it, in local, and it's
yeah,
much faster than it would be in for example, in GitHub Actions.
yeah. Because so I like the YAML part, like you write, I don't know, steps or run command colon start a multi-line string, and then you shove everything you have into that. But yeah, definitely, like
But
over
the nice
time,
thing is you
that's
can
Mhm.
actually build your own like YAML interface on top of any of the SDKs you want to. Like if you have a bunch of different projects that you want to support, you can build
Mhm.
a specific DSL basically for those
Mhm.
projects.
Mhm.
Uh, Obviously, it would be nice to have like an overall solution that encapsulates everything and gives you
Mhm.
all of the features of Dagger, but it's just impossible because
Mhm.
since you can write your own modules and you can write your own code, you just can't build everything into a YAML-based interface.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just doesn't work. So
I guess I have to try this on like a real project.
absolutely.
All right. I do require your support still. If I do that, I might message you
Sure.
like a few times.
Feel free to reach out. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
So
I think
I don't know
yeah.
if we have any of the Dagger folks still on. Uh, I don't know if I hope I represented Dagger right. Like,
You will get those DMs. Don't worry. Like.
yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you, Mark. I think I have to try it. I mean, the part where you don't have to wait for CI, that's huge. I mean, that's the shittiest experience on any CI. So if I don't have to do that, I really have to feel that. I really have to feel the difference. What right now? Yeah, I think someone from the team already gave you some props. So the first experience was definitely a bit more work than like with Drone.io the first time or something like that. But I think I
Hmm.
don't fully grasp the possibilities here, like working with my own language, using the same abstractions and everything that my own language provides me. And
Yeah. So the interface, like the API, is much more verbose than a YAML-based
mm,
API. Let's call that an API.
yep,
But the feedback loop is also much
yep,
shorter. So
yep.
you can experiment much faster compared to any other CI, basically.
Hmm. All right, that's a good last word. Last
Hmm.
word. And also, I think I can also repeat Lab's words. That thank you, Mark. You were amazing. And yeah, I hope
So
to. Yep.
did I sell Dagger you? Did I manage to do that?
There is the engineer part in me, which is a little bit tickled. Like I have to see it and feel it, and I know what's going on. I think it's a little bit cumbersome to build a Docker Compose file with Go code with the builder interface like dot this dot that. I think I would be much faster running a Docker Compose file myself. But the things
But
that
you
you
are
said,
used to that. Like you are
exactly.
used to that.
Yep.
And if you
Yes.
think about like users who would have to contribute to your project,
Yep.
it may be like I don't know.
Maybe the Docker folks did too good of a job. Like I think Docker Compose is sort of familiar for everyone, but uh,
Hmm.
but I but I really have to feel the long tail of this Dagger story. Like what happens
Okay.
after a week, or when I'm building pipelines. Maybe that will sell me like fully. Right now, it's technically it feels sound, and it's probably smarter than I can actually like realize it just now. That's sort of my conclusion, but it's definitely a step in the good direction.
I take it.
All right, thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank
And
you.
for those who are in Europe, have a good evening and wonderful dinner. And for everybody else, yeah, just have a good day. See you, everyone.
See you. Bye.